This is the story of the hero Heracles, also known as Hercules in Roman mythology. I'm Julia, I have a master's in ancient Greek and Latin, otherwise known as classic, and I am telling you the story of the legend, the hero Heracles. And we are at the point of the story where we're talking about the labors of Heracles. Woo! A set of labors set by his cousin Eurystheus to help Heracles atone for the sin of accidentally killing his wife and children, all because the goddess Hera hates his guts. In the last video we talked about the first two labors of Heracles. He slayed the Nemean lion, he slayed the Lernaean hydra. Now we've come to labor of Heracles number 3, the Ceryneian Hind. Now this time he doesn't have to slay an animal, but Eurystheus, who is kind of being guided by Hera, who hates Heracles, is trying to change it up. He's killing these animals too easily. This time Heracles is tasked with capturing the Ceryneian Hind, which is another word for a very special deer, but a very large deer, bigger than a bull. A deer that could easily outpace an arrow being shot. That's how fast it was. So off Heracles goes to try and find this Ceryneian Hind, this elusive deer, and eventually he does find it, only because its antlers are glinting in the moonlight. But this deer is really fast, and as soon as Heracles goes for it, the deer just goes and just starts running. So Heracles chases this giant deer for a full year, going woo all the way around Greece, then woo over to Thrace, and then woo up to what is now like the northern part of northern Croatia. After a full year of chasing this giant deer around, even to a mythical land of the Hyperboreans, meaning like beyond Boreas, meaning, I don't know, the North Pole. There are a lot of different versions, but eventually Heracles does in fact catch the giant deer, probably while it's sleeping. But this was a bit of a trick, you see. Eurystheus, and by extension Hera, they wanted Heracles to catch this specific deer because this deer belonged to the goddess Artemis, and they wanted to make sure that Artemis got really angry at Heracles. But Heracles, once he had captured the deer, on his way to bring it back to prove to Eurystheus that he'd caught it, he actually runs into Artemis and her brother Apollo. Heracles then sort of pleads his case. He says, this is part of my penance, this is part of, you know, me atoning for my sins, I'm really sorry. And he's like, I'll return the deer to you straight away as soon as I'm done, as soon as I've proved that I caught it. I won't kill it, I promise. And so Artemis actually just forgives him and just lets him take the deer away. Heracles brings the deer back to Eurystheus, and Eurystheus is like, yes, now this is going to be part of my wonderful menagerie of animals. And Heracles is like, oh crap, I promised Artemis I would bring the animal back to her. But Heracles is forbidden from coming into the palace walls, right? So he says he'll give the hind, the deer, to Eurystheus as long as he comes out and tries to take it himself. So Eurystheus comes out and he attempts to, take the deer from Heracles, but in the moment of the exchange, because this is a very swift, very fast deer, the deer just runs away before Eurystheus can get a hand on it. And Heracles is like, haha, you were too slow. Anyway, labor of Heracles number 4, the Erymanthian Boar. Eurystheus selects another very dangerous task for Heracles to complete: to capture the Erymanthian Boar, a wild boar from Mount Erymanthos. Heracles has to climb this very high mountain to capture the boar, and Heracles is like, I've got a buddy, I know a guy, a centaur called Pholus, and he lives in one of the caves on the mountain. So Heracles goes to visit Pholus, and they have dinner together, and Heracles is like, you know what, I would really love some wine. But Pholus, he has this very special wine. It was a gift from the god Dionysus. He opens it, and I suppose the smell of the wine is so intoxicating and so strong that it actually attracts the other centaurs who live in the area. So a bunch of other centaurs turn up, and they're like, this is a party, and they don't realize that they actually have to water down this wine. It's that powerful, and all of these centaurs get absolutely raging drunk. In the brawl, somehow they turn their attention to Heracles and they start attacking him. So you remember those poisonous arrows that Heracles had? He used the Hydra's blood to get all of this poisonous juice onto the arrow. Anyway, Heracles uses the poisonous arrows to kill some of these centaurs, and the rest of them run away or like gallop away. And then Pholus is like, wow, what an interesting arrow that you have that's covered in poison. Let me see that for a second. And he grabs it and then he accidentally like drops it and then it falls on his foot and obviously the poison gets on him and the poison makes him crazy, like gives him so much pain that he just like wants to unsubscribe from life. In some versions, this centaur was actually Chiron the centaur, the one that famously taught a bunch of heroes how to be heroes. And Chiron or Pholus, whichever one it is, he's like, I'm in so much pain. I've got to go take the place of Prometheus, who's getting his liver eaten by an eagle every day. And that will somehow make me feel better about being in constant pain all the time. I don't get it. Anyway, Heracles goes over to where Prometheus is being captured and he actually just decides to kill two birds, except he kills one bird and shoots the eagle with the poison arrow, and then nobody gets eaten, their liver eaten. Anyway, at some point, Heracles does actually visit the centaur Chiron because he needs some advice because he still hasn't captured this boar. There was this, this side quest. And Chiron says, you've got to drive this boar into some very thick snow. Lucky they're on a mountain top. Anyway, Heracles does just that. He binds the boar's feet so he can't run away. So, still alive, Heracles brings the Erymanthian boar back to Eurystheus to be like, hey, I got the boar. And then this is like one of the funniest parts of the whole myth. Eurystheus is terrified. He's so scared of this boar that he decides to just like hide in a jar in a pithos, like a big one. And the artwork illustrating this part of the story is so hilarious. There are so many different versions of it where he's like hiding in a jar and he's like, please take it away from me. Get that boar away from me. Ugh. Guys, if you're enjoying this, I would really love it if you would hit the subscribe button. I do other myths as well. I do little shorts. It would really help me out since I actually got hacked on TikTok. Comment your thoughts and tell me which hero or story you'd like me to cover next. Okay, bye.